Tonight is no exception. You hear from two very distinct voices. But I want to make sure that we understand also at the end of all of this, there are books for sale. So Liegh McInnis is in the back on the back table. Definitely visit. And then Jessica Care Moore is at the front table. Definitely visit. Okay? All right. So we will proceed with the program as printed.
Good evening. Welcome to the 9th Annual Albany State University Poetry Festival. Tonight we are excited to present two literary greats whose contributions to the arts have left an indelible mark on our study of language and literature. Their collateral efforts that call for a cultural revolution through arts and ideas helped bring about a movement that changed how we view art. In her Nobel lecture on literature, Toni Morrison remarked, "Make up a story. For our sake and yours, forget your name in the street. Tell us what the world has been to you in the dark places and in the light. Don't tell us what to believe, what to fear. Show us belief's wide skirt and the stitch that unravels fear's call." It is in the spirit of this telling that we are here tonight to join with one another in a celebration of voices, the many voices of the Black experience. From its beginning on slave ships to the blues of the people furthest down, to the jazz riffs of the Harlem Renaissance, to the functional relevance of the Black arts movement, to the percussive beats of hip hop and rap. We join together in one communal voice that champions reform through love, love of self, love of community, and love of family. Albany State University is deeply honored to have as part of our many voices reading two very distinct voices whose art speaks directly to the needs and the aspirations of humanity as they spread messages of hope, renewal, empowerment, love, and responsibility. Tonight, we are joined by two phenomenal artists whose works challenge us to consider not only the world around us, but also our place in it. Tonight, as we pause and listen, we hear Hope's great song that has taught a people to value their place within their poetic ancestries. Thank you.
Good evening. I chose my career based on love. Tonight's featured poet's remarks. I have always loved to read and write. When I learned that someone would pay me to do what I loved, it was a no-brainer. Find a path that you love and you, excuse me, find a path that you love and that will be the reward. It is through this love that tonight's poet challenges the prevailing silences surrounding the lives of many African American men and women. His work examines the swirling vortex of African American identity, culture, and personal and spiritual awakenings, articulating some of the primary issues that African Americans have faced, helping us to look more critically at our relationship with our families and communities, understanding that we cannot afford to be disconnected from them. Liegh McInnis is an instructor of English at Jackson State University, the publisher and editor of Black Magnolia's Literary Journal, a journal that examines and celebrates the social, political, and aesthetic accomplishments of African American, with an emphasis of Afro-Mississippians and Afro-Southerners. He is the author of 7 books, including 4 collections of poetry, 1 collection of short fiction, scripts, sketches, and tales of urban Mississippi, and 1 work of literary criticism. The Lyrics of a Prince, a literary look at a creative musical poet, philosopher, and storyteller. As well, he's the first runner-up of the Amiri Baraka Song and Sechez Poetry Award sponsored by North Carolina State A&T. His work has appeared in the Southern Quarterly, Bum Rush the Page, a Deaf Poetry Jam, Down to the Dark River, an anthology of poems on the Mississippi River, the Pierian Literary Journal, Black Gold, an anthology of Black poetry, Sable, New Delta Review, The Black World Today, In Motion Magazine, Multicultural Review, A Deeper Shade, New Law Review, Chicken Bones, Oxford American, Journal of Ethnic American Literature, BK Nation, Red Ochre Lit, and Brick Street Press Anthology. In January of 2009, C. Liegh, along with 8 other poets, was invited by the NAACP to read in Washington, D.C. for our inaugural poetry reading celebrating the election of President Barack Obama. Tonight, we are honored to have among us one of the individuals whose art offers lessons of survival and transcendence that are models for us all. So please join me in welcoming to the 9th Annual Albany State Poetry Festival, Mr. C. Liegh McInnis.
You can't just be mad. You can't just be matter. You got to be energy. And if you it ain't no sense of being no spook if you ain't gonna be spooky. But the real question is, are you fertilizer or are you excrement? So I guess I'll just be spooky electric, or maybe I'll just be an electric spook. What good are poems? What good are poems? Can a poem be as effective as a .357? Can the images of a poem spray buckshot holes into the body of a greenback stuffed sheep wearing shop? Can a poem be thrown as a brick through the window of a grocery store so that we may pillage and plunder its shelves for food for the hungry? Can a poem be laid on top of a poem, be laid on top of a poem, be laid on top of a poem, be laid on top of a poem until we have built a shelter for the homeless? Can a poem be $1 million war chest or a foundation grant and be mightier than the sword? What good does a poem do a spoiled, bloated belly? Can a poem lay hands on the sick and clothe the naked? Can a poem work hoodoo on an ACT score? Can poems make a writ payment or pull it from a magician's hat? Can poems assassinate Negro turncoats who have sold their souls to racist rags? Can poems cut short the lives of serpentine superintendents who slide and suffocate African babies into Euro excrement disguised as Caucasian curriculums? Poets, poets are the African bees of political pollination, and poems are the sperms of revolution. We need poets to stop adding extra syrup and saccharin to their sonnets so to appease the pale palates of people who have not the stomach for straight no chase of truth. Can poems we need poets to stop mindlessly masturbating away their talents into the mental napkins of oversexed audiences. We need poets to start impregnating thoughts of black magnolias bursting through white raven cement into the minds of virgin souls who without it toiled into the reproductive process of self-aversion. Poems are the sperms of revolution. Are you making love? Are you making love to your people? Or simply fornicating away your existence? Thank you. I'm a Mississippi poet. I make no apologies about that. You can't make me shame. Yes, I walk barefoot in the mud. I've eaten watermelons, I've chopped cotton. So everything I do emanates from the fact that I'm a son of Richard Wright and Margaret Walker and Etheridge Knight, That's who I am. So this next poem is simply titled Mississippi Courage, a lighthouse to the world for Medgar, Fannie Lou, and Miss Annie Devine. Courage is a lighthouse guiding ships to salvation. Courage is the fire that burns down the dead weeds of racism that rise to suffocate the voices of liberty. Courage is the antibiotic that kills the bacteria of hatred. Courage was the nucleus of the Mississippi Trinity, 3 lamps full of freedom oil that shine the path to dirt and gravel roads of liberation, and insurance salesman, a sharecropper, and a teacher. 3 instructors of liberation teaching that righteous knees only bow before God, and that the children of God have an unyielding organic duty to protect the meek like umbrellas, shielding us from the acid showers of colonialism, or overcoats, shielding us from the frozen winds of prejudice. 3 bucking broncos railing against pale cowboys who lurked in the dark of the night, armed with the silver bullets of white supremacy. 3 lambs of justice who boldly walked into the snake pit of the South, into the lion's den of America, to snatch their freedom from Ross Nebuchadnezzar Barnett, Pharaoh Billboard, and his sidewinding salamandering scribes, the Jackson Daily News, an insurance salesman, a sharecropper, and a teacher. See, they bore the cross of change. They were the fertile soil in which we planted our seeds of hope as they petitioned us to invest the collateral of our talents into the mutual fund of the movement. That's why we must be tired of paper tiger intellectuals and playboy revolutionaries who care more about their Cadillac payments than the tilling of soil of ebony education, as they are standing on the backs and trampling the fruits of Medgar, Fannie Lou, and Miss Annie Devine. See, these 3, they midwife and nurtured the germination of a movement which caused the rippling of flowers and trees, sprouting through the winter of racism into the spring of transformation. Like Shaka, they were the pounding tom-tom heart of a militant movement. Like Jesus, they came to heal the sick, and like Muhammad, they laid down the blueprint for their people. Still, everyday people fighting for everyday concerns, speaking volumes with their actions. This Trinity shook the fibers of the universe through intellectual guerrilla warfare with the spirit of Jomo Kenyatta. They showed that leaders cannot teach people to stand as tall as mighty magnolia trees if they are themselves weeping willows, bowing on their knees to the winds of wrongdoers. See, they embraced the sword of justice and the fires of protest, becoming ministers for justice and the preachers of gospel of freedom, teaching us to be the engine of organizations rather than been plowed over by them. With very little possessions, they fought for the dispossessed, each one crying 900,000 Jubilee tears for 900,000 of right and Walker citizens at the mercy of miseducated teachers and chicken-eating preachers, all the while refusing to fight the forest fire of evil with evil, believing love to be the only antidote to hate, when held with light and truth and courage is the mirror reflection of love, and no greater love than a man who would lay down his shivered cashmere coat of life for another, so that we may walk unblemished over the cesspool of struggle. His payment to be beaten, kicked, sprayed, spit, spied, lied, bombed, and turned out for his own, for a few crumbs of token position to move across the tracks into the homes that pale people abandoned to preserve the marmalade of Mississippi tradition. In the blood-stained name of emancipation, equality, and liberty, the thick sweet potato aroma and their lingering legacy demands that we heed the call to explode this corrupt cocoon into a capital of city of concrete citizens. So I don't know if I'm going to heaven or to hell, but wherever I'm going. For Mississippi, I'm going. For Mississippi, thank you. To be just and righteous in a cocoon of capitalism is to be peculiar. So what I want to say to every young person in this room, hold on to your peculiarity. To be righteous and just in a capitalistic cocoon is to be crazy. So I say to you, hold on to your insanity. Don't let nobody normalize who you are. Because the moment they can normalize you, they can co-opt you. And the moment they can co-opt you, they can colonialize you. And the moment they can colonialize you, you become their concubine. So don't let anybody take you from you. You are the only you we have. You are the only you we have. That's why this poem is simply titled, Hold On to Your Insanity. The well-dressed carnival clowns have waged war on the insane. See, it's open season on the mentally disturbed, as if it is our fault that our brains are too big for our bodies, or that our creativity overcrawls the closets of our minds. Or is it that our imagination is a river that floods their dry reality? See, don't let them take your insanity away from you. Being sick It's simply a liberation from this castrated normality that surely leads to a midlife dive into the pool's deep end. It's the peculiar people. We are the children of the sun, and we didn't even ask to be planted in this dry soil. Tomorrow equates to a bucket of waste for us. See, all of my todays and yesterdays are like twins, so erase from your mind the mathematician who looked in the back of the book for the answer, because it doesn't mean that they can solve for X or Y, which is slipping on the slipping slope of sanity. You know, like the church girl who don't know how she got dirty panties. Fantasy is the acting agent of reality. I hear you, George. They, the normal mockingbirds trying to assimilate me. Nietzsche! Are the waters muddy enough for you? Oh yeah, brother, you went crazy. See, swimming in shallow waters will do that for you. You stayed up there too long, man. Stayed away too long. Why would you think those malignant mockingbirds could understand you anyway? What made you think that people with concrete vision could understand a man with water-flowing dreams? But don't worry, because Heidegger and Derrida, they molded and mainstreamed your jazz for you. Like a Texas Instrument modified the scientific calculator for any fool looking for the square root of zero. See, my mind is mine no matter how muddy it is, and I didn't even fill out no application to be here. They, the contracted scholars trying to put my round peg into their square ideology, they tell me to cut my hair. I tell them to grow some integrity. Damn you and the theory of consolidation, downsizing, and mainstreaming 404's course you took to improve your Dow Jones value with the world, you and your Borg mentality. If resistance is futile, then I'll drink a cup of death. Jesus, can you save me with some red wine? My God, why have you left me on this rugged cross? Janie! Janie, baby, I need you. They want my inside. Can you save just one more tea cake? The insane are scared. The sane are paranoid, locked into this windowless room together. None of us want to sleep. See, my soul weighs like a falling anvil. It is dark, and I can hear the sisters on the morning board. I love the Lord, he. Why am I holding? Why am I holding on? Why am I holding? Why am I? I need some sleep with my dreams. Thank you. So, I was asked to write a poem about multiculturalism. You know, they have these racial reconciliations. They say, well, we need you to come and, you know, you the local poet, so we want you to do the poem on multiculturalism. I say, well, good. I got just a poem for you. It's called Black Man. Because there's nobody more multicultural than African people. It has an epigraph, which is a song titled We Can Funk by George Clinton and Prince. So that epigraph leads into the poem, and it simply says, I'm testing positive for the funk. I'll gladly pee in anybody's cup. And if your cup overflows, I'm testing positive, so I'll pee some more. I say I'm testing positive for the funk. Gladly pee in anybody's cup. And if your cup overflows, I'm testing so positive, I'll gladly pee some more. See, I apologize for putting my muddy feet on your white carpet, but my feet have become dusty from dancing in the dirt of the Delta. See, allow me to inform you, I am a man. My name is Black, but you can call me Daddy Pop because I'm father to the rainbow. I got more child nations than Skittles got colors, all birthed from the rich womb of a Kibbulan. See, even my outhouse produces flowering countries. My loins are the kaleidoscope of life. I am the prism that creates the spectrum of humanity. My black body is as fertile as the Nile Reservoir. My soul shines like the sun's atom. I was Muslim before you submitted, Christ-like before the crucifixion, and Mason before the codes. I created remedial education for Socrates. I was the one who suggested the elephant to Hannibal, the donkey to Jesus, and the Cadillac to Rev Mike. I was the one who taught Merlin that damn sleight of hand trick. Still, you call me witch doctor and call him magician. As the government works this hoodoo hell, I need some voodoo just to stay sane. If you don't think that I'm a magician, hell, check me out on Bill Day. How does 14% of a population give a whole nation so much so? If the one drop rule applies, then the complete Commonwealth has got to be colored. I was the one who did the driving and the parallel parking for Columbus. I tried to warn my Carmine brothers about smoking that pipe with Captain Smith, Nat Turner on my best day and Clarence Thomas on my worst, but hell, that still makes me supreme. B.B. King on Saturday night and MLK on Sunday morning. I'm beautiful, fiery truth of Richard Pryor and the communal wisdom of Baba Douglas and the Kango. See, I'm Frederick Douglass with a Kango slightly tilted to the side, still refusing to give up my plantation house. I'm Booker T. Washington in a red pinstripe double-breast suit with red silk socks and a pair of red Stacey Adams. I'm gonna pull myself up by my wingtips and look good doing it. I'm the double talking, double consciousness of divorce. I'm the glorious steadfast rock of Garvey. I am the new Negro that shows up every 10 years. I made the peanut give birth to things that you wouldn't even believe, and I coordinated red, yellow, and green to keep white folks from running into each other. How the hell you gonna invent a cotton gin and you ain't never picked no cotton? Don't worry about it, don't answer that. If necessity is the mother of invention, then every patent in America got to be mine. I tried to tell cuss the dumbass don't go in between them rocks. I took on wings at Tuskegee and taught America how to fly. I pumped electrifying orgasmic life into your comatose language. I'm the same brother who cut Malcolm's cup and give Reverend Sharpton his touch-up. I was the one who said, run, Jesse, run. I'm Robert Johnson, Chuck Berry, Thelonious Monk, Miles Davis, Little Richard, Jackie Robinson, James Brown, Jimi Hendrix, Smokey Robinson, Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, and Tina Turner. Damn, that makes me Prince. Let it marinate. Above all else, I am forever here. Like a stain on the silk shirt of white supremacy, I have survived more wars and famines than a McDonald's has sold overpriced, overprocessed scam burgers. I have survived more conspiracies than an Oliver Stone movie and more cliffhangers than Dynasty, Falcon Crest, Dallas General Hospital. I guess that's why my young are so damn restless. I'm the bulging, pounding, phallic anxiety of a nation. See, you don't know if you want to emasculate me, incarcerate me, infect me, ejaculate me, but that's all right, because I can't help but touch myself when I walk. The music in my rhythm gives more bounce to my beat. I am JSU and Tougaloo, the private and public HBCU, and one day I'm going to use my education to engineer my sovereignty, but until then, I'm going to just keep talking my blues on the one. Poverty and oppression are just more opportunities for me to be great. I'm too bad to die, too proud not to live, and too funky not to enjoy it all. The only time that I ever give up my woolly-headed existence is so that y'all may have everlasting life. Thank you. All right, so I'm slow it down for one. I'm amazed at how many poems and essays I've written because former students have emailed me that I never planned to write about. But when your students, who you are challenging to challenge the world, who graduated. So a few years ago, there was a brother, James Craig Anderson, who was lynched in Mississippi. He was chained to the back of a pickup truck and dragged, and his body just ripped into pieces. And so a student emailed me. She'd graduated and gone on, and so she emailed me and she said, well, Mr. McInnis, I have this listserv. It has a couple of thousand people on it, so my former students are on the listserv. And she said, well, Mr. McInnis, I'm just waiting on you to say something about this. And I was angry and horrified, but I just kept thinking, same thing, new day, right? And so all I could think of was the term rerun, 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 rerun. Nothing has changed. We still being lynched. We still commit 16% of the crime, but we 60% of the incarceration rate. We still got the same degrees, yet we don't get hired at the same rate. So it's just reruns, reruns. So that's all I could think of was, when are we gonna get tired of watching this rerun? At what point are we, as African people, gonna get tired of watching the rerun? So this poem is simply titled Rerun. For James Craig Anderson, Frederick Jermaine Carter, Billy Joe Johnson, and a former student who forced me to write this. And you're gonna hear two towns, Brandon and Money. And Brandon is Brandon, Mississippi, and Money is Money, Mississippi. Because Money, Mississippi is where Emmett Till was killed. And Brandon, Mississippi is where the young white boys, and what they would do is, they would come into Jackson, because Jackson, because white flight, so a lot of the white folks like to call Jackson Jafrica. And we were like, oh, you think that's an insult? We would got t-shirts, yeah, we live in Jafrica. We don't live in Jackson, that ain't no insult, player. We appreciate y'all for the name, we didn't even think of that. But what they were doing was they were coming into the city at night looking for black people to kill. And these were high school students. So when you're gonna hear me say Brandon is the child of Money, so what I'm saying is Brandon, Mississippi is the child of Money, Mississippi. So that's probably the only thing that you really would be a little foreign if you're not from there. No one really watches reruns, do they? Sanford and Son, Good Times, The Jeffersons, even The Cosby Show and A Different World. But who knew that Generation iPod would clamor for digital downloads of Birth of a Nation? It all seems that the Andy Griffith Show and the Waltons have been tape delayed. I knew it'd be hell when that first spook moved next door to the David Dukes of Hazzard in Madison County. Brandon is the child of money. Just as molasses, slow-talking, three-toothed men named Bubba, Byron D, and Bowers have been recast as pale skeleton skateboards donning Justin, Bieber and Timberlake haircuts. How come Hollywood never cast Tom Cruise as a sheet wearer, while former District Attorney Mike Moore was just too dang pretty to be, even as he sweet-talked Negro politicians into molesting black colleges of their scholarship money? Shh, don't move. It'll be over in a minute. As Confederate Haley continues to cling to his Rockwell rebel painting of the Bleach Citizens Council, turning the other cheek so as not to stain his eyes with history's remix, hell, where's Puffy when we need him? I'll take Bigger Thomas for 600, Alex, because Baldwin knows that its color is its size and that the retinas of white cops callous with the haze of hate can't see the beauty of black magnolias blossoming. While white boys ride to hip-hop raging against the machine, becoming suburban soldiers sent on silver horses to resurrect the ghost of Jim Crow, a headless horseman on the trail of progress to look for factory workers with sandpaper hands to lynch with F-250s and SUVs. They the steel cavalry of the Caucasian purity. You ever notice how black bystanders are painted as accessories while white bystanders are painted as witnesses? When do we get the chance to color the courthouse canvas? Doesn't the election of all these chocolate bodies change the coloring of justice? Is James Anderson a character in a post-racial text edited by Henry Louis Gates Jr.? Does riding in the back of a police car incinerate one's carefully hand-painted postal race card? The Tea Party ain't nothing but a throwback jersey, becoming the digital Bellum mirrored reflection of the Hayes-Tilden compromise that only served to put black bodies in compromising positions, making Obama's election a watershed moment, causing the toothpick and bubblegum dam holding America's racism to bust into a waterfall of radioactive Reagan rage. In every Mississippi market, from cotton to sand, reruns of retro reality TV are all the rage. Greenwood trees still sing Holiday's strange song while night riders make Swiss cheese of a senator's home who had the nerve to take his camera and go tell it on the mountain. And Loosedale blue boys with bent and bloody badges tackle and terminate a cold-faced football player who receives flowing rivers of cheer from pasty cheerleaders. Seeds of black sovereignty lay unopened on the dusty floors of midnight mines while visions of integration still dance like spoiled sugar trump plums. I guess it's one hell of a family reunion when we hear the call of the Confederate wrapped in an American flag. Thank you. I'm gonna do two more and get out your hair. Yeah, that's cool. So, I write occasional poems. That doesn't mean I write poems occasionally, right? But you write, once you become known as the town poet, family poet, there's always some event, so people say, we need you to write a poem. So I got a call once and somebody said, Uncle Ned died. I was like, oh, wow, I kind of like Uncle Ned, Yeah, tell his children, that, I'll be at the services. He says, no, Uncle Ned died. I like, yeah. I'm sorry to hear that. Now they want to know when you're gonna send the poem. They really know Uncle Ned that way, but so those of you who are writers, I like to tell people that one of my favorite poems by Dudley Randall is "A poet is not a jukebox." Right? People think that you can put a quarter in a poet and we just spit out poems, right? But there is a responsibility if you do call yourself a writer to reflect your community, because you get to kind of say things that other people don't get to say. You get certain liberties that other people don't get. So a gentleman he wanted to have a rites of passage for his son. And he asked me if I would write a poem for his son was turning 13. He said, we just don't have, for us, African-American rites of passages rituals. And so I wrote this poem, and it's simply titled Manhood. Between the first Adam and the last Adam, our clay must be sculpted by the supreme plotter, for if you are what you eat, they be fed by seeds of scripture and not merely by man's meat, and know that only trees planted in his soil can withstand the winds of a wicked weather. To be a man is to be the garden of God's green garden, is to be the levee refusing to break when the hurricanes of life threaten to engulf your earthly existence. Yet your strength does not come from lifting weights or doing push-ups and sit-ups. The muscles in your mind are more powerful than the rivers that run through your legs and arms and backs, and the word of God lays a foundation that cannot be cracked. For if you stand on his word, then the floods of Noah will not drown you, and his crashing economy will not take you over. For God is the anchor that is proven to be stronger than the gangrene greed of mankind. Being a leader is not about being wrapped in the phony praise of the people. Being a leader is not about cat dadding and Cadillacs chasing concubines. Being a leader is about washing the feet of the filthy and filling empty stomachs with the bread of life while making yourself a carbon copy of Jesus' blueprint. To be a protector is to cover your children with hugs and kisses while arming them with the bows and arrows of righteousness. To be a husband is to wrap your wife in the light of Jehovah, which shines more brightly than the furs and diamonds. To be a father is teaching your children how to fish while sowing in them the seeds of Solomon and self-love. To be an educator is to know that calculus was a concept created in Genesis and affirmed in Revelation. To be a man is to know that love is the only antidote to weapons of mass destruction, and that faith is facing your fears with the assurance that roses really can burst through concrete. You are a legacy of miracles. Your hands are stained with the calluses that once picked cotton can now pick cabinets. Yet even your success as a man never forgets to thank the clouds of righteous rain that fertilizes our flowers of peace and prosperity. To be a man is to be a lighthouse standing on the solemn shore. To be a tree that will not be moved, shining so that the wayward ships of mankind can be led back to the Creator. You must be a lighthouse in these desperately dark times. Let your Creator be your light bulb so that the world can be flooded with the light of truth. Thank you. All right, I'll do this one. I'll do this last one. Yeah, I'll do the Mississippi poem. Yeah, I'll do that one. That's the last one. So, I travel around the country a lot. And people, they don't just ask me what's Mississippi like. It's what they do. They're like, what's Mississippi like? All right. And the tone of the question is like you could put Mars in the place of Mississippi. So like, what's Mars like? And they're waiting, right? They're waiting because, you know, and so I was always intrigued about how could I answer that. And while simultaneously trying to answer that, I always had in my head Margaret Walker's poem, For My People. And if you've never read Margaret Walker, you must read her novel, Jubilee. Because here's why. Jubilee is the first neo-slave narrative ever published. Published before Roots, published before Toni Morrison's Beloved. Jubilee is the first neo-slave narrative. It is the one that paves the way. And what Margaret Walker does, both in her poem, For My People, and in Jubilee, and also in her collection of poetry, Prophets for a New Day, is that she reclaims common black folk. She reminds us that we survive because we are the children of the sun. And so when explaining to people what's Mississippi like, and thinking about Margaret Walker's For My People, this is what I was able to get. It was simply titled Mississippi Like. What is it to be Mississippi? Where Capitol streets cross cotton fields and Margaret's Jubilee jams with Eudorus festivals, where there are college cuts, controversy, and the Klan with plenty of revolution, religion, red ripe tomatoes, and rebels, ruby, racist rag. Yeah, this is all my Mississippi. It's little boys putting dirt in abandoned tires and rolling them by little girls in their Sunday dresses. It's hanging out at Big Sam's juke joint on Saturday night and juking to sign me up on Sunday morning. It's picking wild berries and stealing Mr. Wilson plums. It's mowing everybody's yard because your mama said so. It's what time out means. Mama taking a break from whooping your leathery hide, and the thought of a swarming strap still causes you to wake in the middle of the night in a cold sweat. It's Ross Burnett damming the doorway of education and James Meredith bulldozing his ideology. It's the Sovereignty Commission playing hide and go seek with the lives of invisible citizens while ebony voices declare we shall not be moved under the salacious sights of rifles and German shepherds. What is it to be Mississippi? It is no matter how highbrow we get, we still have hot sauce on the table when we eat. It's having a special jawbone, being double-voiced or bilingually lingual enough to talk with two tongues. You know, a Democrat on TV and a Dixiecrat under the heel, wearing black suits in the day and white sheets at night. What is it to be Mississippi? It's cinnamon and coffee leaves hanging from faded autumn leaves, a warm Thanksgiving and a cool Christmas where rain steals center stage from the snow. And a brief frost can close a school like the notion of the ending of segregation as Southern apartheid is kept alive every Sunday morning. See, we still don't pray together even though our children can hopscotch over to Ole Miss and play together. What is it to be Mississippi? It is the peanut butter and jelly sandwich of Archie Manning and Walter Payton, where some like peanut butter more than jelly, but half a sandwich rarely fills a whole belly. What is it to be Mississippi? It is the quiet confusion that becomes too cantankerous to ignore, like, when the doctors say today is the day to stop eating sheep pork. Or when the pork politics of good old boy kickbacks become too fattening to nurture democracy. What is it to be Mississippi? It's having one street with two names so that the white folks can live on Hanging Mouse and the black folks can live on West Street until the black folks march up the street causing the Confederates to retreat to Rankin County. What is it to be Mississippi? It's being the mirror of the world with the crystal chrome reflection too bright for anybody to stare. What is it to be Mississippi? It's knowing that decency, courage, and forgiveness are not a three-piece suit that can be removed when they're no longer fashionable. Like when you say yes ma'am and no ma'am because manners are the concrete foundation of a civilization, that's the Mississippi in you. When you open the door for a woman, not as a prelude to a rendezvous, but because women are the fertile soil of our futures, that's the Mississippi in you. When a family reunion ain't nothing but a Sunday dinner, that's the Mississippi in you. Or when you send a plate over to Miss Mary's house cause all of her children took the exit train north and she can't navigate the stairs like she used to, that's the Mississippi in you. Or when you go to school because education is the sledgehammer to knock holes into the walls of injustice or oppression, that's the Mississippi in you. Or when you vote, even though there are two flapjack politicians on both sides of the ballot, and the concept of a statesman ain't nothing but a mascot for Delta State, and you pulled the lever anyway because Mega's blood is the only registration card you need, that's the Mississippi in you. When being baptized in the blood refers to the plasma of Jesus and the crimson of the civil rights movement, that's the Mississippi in you. When you speak to people on the street whom you don't even know as you pass them, that's the Mississippi in you. Then after speaking, you say, baby, who your folks? That's the Mississippi in you. Or when you see a stranger with a familiar face and ask him, baby, are you Miss Ruthie Mae Johnson, boy who lived over the tracks under the hill, had that daughter married that Williams boy whose family used to own the store next to the sawmill inn? That's the Mississippi in you. Or when you got a whole lot of cousins and your mom and dad ain't got no brothers and sisters? That's the Mississippi in you. Or when you stand because a woman just approached your table, that's the Mississippi in you. Or when you refuse to call a woman after 10 p.m. or anything but her name, that's the Mississippi in you. And when loving your fellow man as you love yourself is your political platform and feeding little Leroy is your own social welfare program, that's the Mississippi in you. Or when you pay your bills, despite them vampire interest rates, not because you're scared of the colorless collectors, but because your granddaddy's word was as solid as the earth and your daddy's word was as true as the season, and you don't want to drive down the value of your family name by being as unreliable as the politicians promised the day after an election, that's the Mississippi in you. And when you do unto others as you would have them do unto you because it pleases God and your grandmama, that's the Mississippi in you. Y'all, good night.
Hello, everyone. Hey, now. About tonight's featured poet, Dr. Michael Eric Dyson writes, Jessica Care Moore has the brains of W.E.B. Du Bois and the beauty of Dorothy Dandridge. She is a rhetorical master who has transformed the art of public poetry into the performance of prophetic truth. Jessica Care Moore carries on the historic tradition of our greatest artists who make epic verse out of tragedy and adversity. Born in Detroit, Jessica Care Moore first came to national prominence when she won on the legendary It's Showtime at the Apollo competition, a record-breaking 5 times in a row. Her searing performance of the poem, Black Statue of Liberty, earned her several meetings with high-profile publishing companies, but in 1997 she paved her own path by launching her own publishing company, Moore Black Press, and she released her first book, The Words Don't Fit in My Mouth. Along with her own work, Moore also published famed poets such as Saul Williams, Sharif Simmons, Def Poetry Jam's co-founder Danny Simmons, NBA player Eaton Thomas, Roz Baraka, and former Essence magazine editor Asha Bendel. Jessica Caramore is the executive producer of Black Women Rock, a musical celebration of women's voices, and founder of the literacy-driven Jess Caramore Foundation. She is an internationally renowned poet, playwright, performance artist, and producer. She is a 2013 Elaine Locke Award recipient from the Detroit Institute of Arts. She has published several books, including The Alphabet versus the Ghetto, God is Not an American, Sunlight Through Bullet Holes, and a memoir, Love is Not the Enemy. Not to mention a host of literary collections that have included her work. As an artist/activist, Jessica Caramore has used her voice as part of an international fight against AIDS. She performed for the United Nations World AIDS Day commemoration 2 years in a row and was one of the organizers of Hip Hopathon, a concert in San Francisco which helped increase AIDS education in the Black and Latino Bay Area communities. Most recently, she appeared at the August 9th Ferguson Memorial for Mike Brown, performing a powerful piece at the site where the teenager was killed last year. She is also a music producer. Her first album, Black Tea, The Legend of Jesse James, is a highly personal and passionate piece of work and features artists Amani Uzuri, Roy Ayers, Talib Kweli, Jose James, One Below, and Ursula Rucker. It was released in October 2015 on Talib Kweli's label, Javoti Media. The video, This Is a Bus with Wings, which is a single from the album, appears on ebony.com. We are very excited and honored to have with us at our 9th annual Poetry Festival the amazingly powerful voice of Miss Jessica Caramore.
Are you gonna read your poem? Okay. I had on high heels, took them off. The Mississippi in me took off my high heel. How y'all doing? Can we get the people can you guys come closer and fill up the spaces in the front? Is that too much? Can we get some of can we just, why y'all back there? Come up here. Y'all come up here with us. Come on down to the morning. Come on down. Jeff, you too far away too. Oh, you watching something? Okay, you doing something. You working. Okay. I'm just gonna get to it. I speak better in poems than I do just speaking normally. It was nice to talk earlier, but I really want to get down to the poems. I'm gonna, just to be surrounded by this amazing energy, like you can't go wrong as a poet, you know. I got like Sonia on my left and Tazaki on my right, and Rita and Yusuf, Nikki, it's Maya, come on. These are beautiful. So thank you for just surrounding us with this energy. I want to open up with a piece from Black Tea, The Legend of Jesse James. My poem, You Want Poems, is I guess it's like it's a jazz poem. It's really just a personal piece about surviving as a woman poet and who happens to fall in love every now and again. And on that record, it's Jose James from Blue Note Records is singing on it, who has a voice like water. If you haven't heard of Jose, you should look up his music. Yeah, Jose bad. And there's a kindred spirit. We ran into each other. Just glad that we met again. And Roy Ayers, who's one of my good friends, and I said something that earlier that enriches your relationships. I couldn't afford Roy Ayers, to play vibes on my record, but I called him and said, Baba Roy, you want to be on my record? And he quickly said, yeah, baby girl, I'll be on your record, just like that, And I was like, okay. And so this is called You Want Poems, because when you're a poet, yes, everyone asks you for poems. When people die, when people get married, christenings, whatever, I don't really like doing poems at funerals. I told myself that I'm not going to stop doing that because I've done a lot of obituary, poems. And yeah, sometimes it's somebody mama you never met or whatever. And so I can so relate to that story. But this is called You Want Poems. It's a short piece. I just want to open it up like this. When you are a woman, when you are brown, when you are brave, when you walk over glass like water, when you know your eyes are borrowed like time, when you peel off your skin for the very first time. Fear is never in style in the Mecca of the blue. Fear never lives in the gut of the new. You want poems, and I want to build my home. You want poems, and I just want love in my hands. You want poems, and I'm not interested in fans. You love me inside my magic, and I just want you to see you already had it. It is the telling when someone asks. It's the way he holds the glass, licks the surface, examines without touching. It's the way our energy takes over rooms. It is the subtle conversation. It is the freedom of emancipated language. It is words scribbled inside my skin. It's the curve of the line, the beauty of the lies. Stories passed down through generations of pain and pride. Ocean and tide. Water remembers. Water returns. African mermaids blending with dark sand. It is the danger of the dance, the upright bass of the heart, the dice roll drum, the cymbal tease, the last laugh, the addiction to this moment. Where else do I put it? Don't know where to put it, place it, bury it, deep in my chest, back of my throat. Where should I hide it? On this stage? Should I give it to you? Here is my honesty, my work undressed, legs stretched across piano, traded like cattle, raped like animal, left for dead, sucked dry for inspiration, in love with the idea of living long enough to simply write about it, push it out my body and watch my son slowly grow into it. You said you wanted a poem. Now what you gonna do with it? Huh? Etta, Phyllis, Nina, Billy, Abby, Whitney. How much time you got? How much time you got? I'm a body of clocks. I'm a master of mics. I'm a metaphor for survival. I'm the gold they use to build their churches, a beautiful idea to flirt with, but who should I marry? The moonlight? The white dove? The wolf? Some Eastern music? This music? A prayer? How many babies we gonna make inside a song? Which revolution, which nation shall we rule? The island of the spirit world, the beauty of the believers, the carpenters, the men who build the dream and place you on the front line of their planet. One day, the stars will line up between breath and ink and voice, between reality and choice. It is the danger of the dance, the upright bass of the heart, the dice roll drum, the cymbal tease, the last laugh, the addiction to this moment. That's all. So that's called You Want Poems. And y'all clap light. I meant to tell you when you was reading it, clapping too light. Can y'all clap louder than that? Where y'all energy at? Y'all young, clap loud. You know what I'm saying? If it was whoever, I can't even think of what hip hop artists y'all like so much these days. But you know, if Most Def was up in here, y'all be like, maybe claps all against the wall. You know what I'm saying? Poets need that kind of energy too. So I'm gonna read something newer. I wrote this in Ferguson. We did a big fundraiser. Talib raised a lot of money, several $100,000 actually, for the Black Lives Matter movement in Ferguson and for the family of Mike Brown and activists who needed lawyer money. And so we did a big fundraiser. I think it was Ferguson Rocks. I hosted it. Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine played, and there was a lot of us came out. And Common came out, and Pharoah Monch came out, and so a lot of the hip-hop community came out to Ferguson. So, you know, you support these people, you know, these hip-hop artists that come to Ferguson and places like that. That's whose records you need to be buying, you know. Those are the people you need to support. When you say that there is no hip-hop artist, this generation isn't saying anything, they are saying something. You just aren't supporting the artists that are doing the work. So you have to do that. This is called We Want Our Bodies Back. And it's a play off of a poet from Detroit that was a good friend of mine named Ron Allen. I'm sure you guys know him. But anyway, he wrote a poem years ago called I Want My Body Back. And so I thought of him, and I thought about all these bodies, right? You know, when you have children, people's children get killed, all you think about is like this, you know, this young person's body. But this one is about a woman's body, and it's for Sandra Bland, the sister who was killed in the Texas jail, right? So it's called We Want Our Bodies Back. If black women could be cut down, no, removed gently from American terrorism, who would break our fall? Which direction would we travel to feel safe? Wild is the wind. If we could turn in this skin, these sharpened bones, this brain full of power and history, who would we resemble? Invisible doesn't come in black. How many nervous breakdowns? How many funeral black dresses? How many fibroids? How many nooses? How many of our bodies must be raped, cut into pieces, burned inside garbage bags, buried? How many of us blossom a beautiful tree of life and pray their pride isn't cut down the middle, reduced to trunks, or a close friend doesn't die climbing their limbs, attempting to simply grow outside the gritty soil they were planted? I put a spell on you. Holly hobby ovens, Girl Scout cookies, and Barbie dolls don't prepare our revolutionary daughters born with capes and wings to have a pig's knee pushed into their backs. Girls raised by wolves taught to disappear, to be quiet, to not talk about it. How much black breath is allowed space in the state of Texas, a place that sucked the life out of countless miscounted, uncounted brown, poor women die here. I got life. Sandra Bland got the death penalty for a traffic stop. Her body was 28 years young. How do we construct a survival guide, a poem to make sense of our bodies burnt by cigarettes and smoked out abandoned lungs without throwing up our breakfast? How do our bodies not implode after telling our stories to comply, telling our sons to comply, to not speak, to keep their heads down, to allow their bodies to be dragged by racist police? Jim Crow had never flown with this much wingspan. Eagles running for safety now, for the reach is deep in southern and Midwest shadows, the east lands in the west. Texas, you will always be Mexico in denial. Poet Ron Allen asked for his body back in 1996, and we are still waiting. We want our bodies back. We want our bodies back. We want our bodies back. We want them returned to mothers, without blood, without brains exposed, without humiliation, without bruises, without glasses, without fire. We want our bodies back. We want our cities back. We want our culture back. We want our land back. We want our streets back. We want our freedom. We want our justice. We want our bodies back. We want them wrapped in white silk. We want them paraded around the White House. We want these flags you stand up for at baseball games at half-mast. We want national holidays in honor of our bodies, our knees, our prayers, our ears, our genitals, our eyes, our fingers, our feet. We want 21 gun salutes when we enter a room. We want our bodies back. We want them anointed in oils. We want them worn around your neck. We want them remembered. We want them worshiped on Sunday. We want our magic you try to bottle. We want our essence you attempt to steal. We want our elegance, our sex, our walk. We want our cool. We want our recipes, our intelligence, our science, our stars, our history. I want my Moroccan nose. I want my holy water breasts. I want my Maasai legs. I want my alien arms. I want my Ivory Coast mouth. I want our breath back. I want our time back. I want your foot off our girls' backs. I want all your badges back. I want you to evaporate like dust into like swatted moths. Don't cut me down from the noose. Let my legs dangle for the devil. What a spectacular magic show. Why you turn the cameras off, huh? Why you turn the cameras off? This is a simple ballet. You got front row. This is your venue. This cell, this hole is no one's home, is no place for a woman to die. You probably never heard of Judith Jameson, Catherine Dunham. Oh, we know how to get our legs in the air. We know how to elevate, use our bodies to tell a story of middle passage, of survival, of lynchings. You have always left our bodies under your control. Don't you touch me. Don't you take me down, murderers. Don't you touch my body, touch my music. Don't touch my patience. Don't touch my car door. Don't come near my window. Don't talk to me in that tone. This body of work got work to do. I'm resurrecting my body in new forms daily. Watch for me in your deepest sleep. Black is the color of my true love's hair. Listen for my songs. Watch for my walk. Listen for my voice. My black girl attitude. Watch my body resist your death traps. Watch me rise. Watch my rebirth. Watch us rise up from this new Jim Crow, from these new unspoken apartheid laws. We want our bodies back. We want our bodies back. We want our bodies back. We will take them, protect them, raise them, remember you. Sandra Bland, we will never forget your brown body, your mind, your pride, your spirit, your love, your vow to do God's work. We want your drive from Illinois to Waller County back. We want all our daughters back, and we want them back now. So that's it, Sandra Bland. Are y'all awake? Yes. Academic setting? Okay. Academic setting. I'm sorry, laughing at my own joke. But anyway, it is funny because academic settings be like pulling the souls out of folks. So you got to make sure that students are awake. Y'all awake? Y'all awake? Y'all awake? All right. Yeah. I make sure we're up. Y'all gotta sing something with me or something to make sure. Okay. So I'm gonna say it ain't like we don't like loving. Y'all say that. It ain't like we don't like loving.
It ain't like we don't like loving.
All right, make sure y'all hear. It ain't like we don't like loving.
It ain't like we don't like loving.
We die for the blues because we born with it.
We
We die for the blues because we born.
This for Etta James. Madness, the veil of the mic, our voice flight, memories don't lie. We die at broken hearts, transparent art, they clap, pretend to be smart. Proof of existence, feminine, fossil for frauds. We die, we cry, we birth, we deliberate smile, forced in our mouths, open, history pours out. It ain't like we don't like loving.
It ain't like we don't like love.
It ain't like we don't like loving.
It ain't like we don't like love.
We die for the blues cause we born with it.
We die
For the blues cause we born. It ain't like we don't love candles or ashes lit. We the flames smoking. America holds our hearts, a royalty owns our essence, rebels. Music is not yours to take. Music is not yours to take. Stone rolling blues runs deep in these thick veins. The beautiful ones alone with the notes dancing inside a body. Spirit fills the void, laughter measured, broke holy bread, we melt on tongues. At last rock and roll gets on its knees, thanks mama shall come first, they say. It ain't like we pray to a different God, you know, amen, ashe, peace. It ain't like we pray to a different God, you know, amen, ashe, peace. Wonder what they do with our bones, build a shrine. Queens sleep in death, I guess. Our legs still shake, shed off skin, borrow wind as breath. Lucy has daughters. Lucy has daughters. Fatherless, but still, daddy meant the world, cause absence makes art grow fonder. Blind is a blessing when you got eyes everywhere looking for your flaws. Etta, it's Sunday. Etta, it's Sunday. As I write this 12:09, kinda love these tears. It ain't like we dream of knights in armor shining, not since music played. At a wedding stop, pain inspires genius tongue. I made that man great. Know your place, brown girl. Don't sing that truth too loud. You better scream it through the speakers. It ain't like we don't like loving. It ain't like we don't like loving. Do it with me. It ain't like we don't. You right. They was wrong. It ain't like we don't like loving. We die for the blues because we born with it. We die for the blues because we born with it. All right, that's a blues haiku for Etta James. Make sure y'all hear. I'm going to just kind of skip around a little bit. So this is God is Not an American. This is my third book. And my Baba Haki wrote the foreword. I think the foreword is better than the whole book. But it took me to my third book, because I won the Apollo thing is real interesting because I didn't take myself that seriously, to be honest. I mean, I took myself seriously in some ways, but not as a published writer. And I did the whole. I had a literary agent, and I make sure to tell young people when I'm in front of young people. I turned down like 3 record deals after the Apollo because it wasn't my interest to go to New York, and it wasn't my plan to go on the Apollo. Just as a black poet who's in the tradition of black poetry, you see black people in a possibility to talk to them, you're supposed to actually take it. So I wasn't like an opportunist, or I wasn't a performance artist for that matter. It was a black audience on a black street called 125th Street, and place where I'm from, this is where you read your poetry, wherever some black folks are at, whether it's a church or a club or whatever, And so when I won the Apollo, which was it was a dream. I didn't even know when it was happening. I was still outside of it, and then it happened. And then I could have done a lot of things. I could have signed to Sony Music, Elektra. Chuck Sutton was my manager, and I turned all those things down. And I started a publishing house called More Black Press in 1997 and decided I would publish my own work. Faith Childs was my literary agent. I had Faith Childs and Marie Brown. I was 22. The poets in the room know what the hell that means. I mean, that was 2 of the baddest literary agents, to still is, like nobody messing with Marie. And so, I was really young with a lot of opportunity in front of me, and then, I talked to some different people, and Haki, I remember telling, because I could be a third world press poet, Haki loves my work, and he said, you're doing exactly what you should be doing. And so publishing is a thankless job. It really is. Like, people don't really appreciate the work that goes into publishing, and I understand Haki. I saw him years ago at Furious Flower. I saw tears when he got this award, and I understood his tears because I don't know how he's done it. Because poets are spoiled rotten, and then people spend their money publishing your books and marketing, then you just want to show up all cute and read your poems. But the work that I've done and publishers have done to keep black poets' work in print is a hell of a freaking lot of work. And it costs a lot of money to make these things. It used to cost $1 a book. I remember I could get 1,000 books for $1,000. Now it's about $4 or $5 a book. You know, for books I don't write. I write these massive, humongous 200-page poetry books. And I'm going to learn how to do a 96-page book. I haven't quite figured that out yet. But anyway, so this is God is Not an American. It took me to my third book to figure out that I could actually write poems. To other people, they liked my poems on the Apollos. I don't like those, like Black Statue of Liberty, poems I would not write right now. You know, I've outgrown a lot of that work. But for me, like my God is Not an American, I was like, okay, I know how to write poetry. And so this is a poem I wrote. It's a petition for a national holiday. I wrote this when I was pregnant and living in Atlanta. And I'd gone to the post office, and it was closed. And I was really pissed off about it. And I was like, why is the post office closed? And it was one of them holidays that I don't celebrate. And so I don't wait, you know, for like people to tell me when to celebrate stuff. I just create my own holidays. And so, you know, in America, that's very difficult for people, you know, especially if you have a very American, whether you're a black family, black American or white American family, y'all all celebrate the same damn holidays. And so I don't subscribe to it on purpose, and I try to keep my son as much as I possible outside of the capitalistic, you know, holiday thing. And so this is called Petition for a National Holiday to honor the achievements of African American women, or who in the hell else deserves the day more than us. And to me, this was my new Black Statue of Liberty poem. Like if I was going to write a poem like that was kind of the energy of Black Statue of Liberty, this was going to be it. So this poem is a petition. Please sign and move along. Columbus got one and Macy's has a white sale. Washington and all the U.S. presidents, but not his African mistress, not his black daughters. There was that one day they give thanks for the genocide of Native Americans and eat turkey. Even Jesus can't have his own day. He has to share with some imaginary fat man in a red suit who only visits the rich annually. Finally, and with much resistance, they let us have a day for Martin, but even Martin Luther King has some help. If anybody deserves a day off, it's a black woman. I'm not talking about a day that'll shout us out a token day of recognition like Secretary's Day, something cute to add to the calendar. When I wake up on this morning, on this day, I want some shit to shut down. I don't want the mail to run. I want all the railroads to have a moment of silence in honor of Harriet Tubman. I want Sojourner Truth's name to be written in Swahili summer clouds. I want the original Statue of Liberty returned back to original African self. I want stone monuments for every rape, every daughter separated and sold, for every child cut from her mother's womb, for every scar, the ones we can see and the ones we push down inside our stomachs, braid into our hair, or spit down the toilet. I want a war memorial built off the Potomac River to represent the bloodshed of the African Holocaust, for women who jumped off sides of ships, smothered their babies to save them from a life of inhumanity. I want Cynthia McKinney Parkway in Georgia to be more than a green and white sign. I want to make this strip a highway a better circle than 285. This one is for Zora, Coretta, Angela, Mary, Mama Stone, Kathleen, Rosa, Vivian, Irene, Virginia, Mama Love, Lady, and every child-born girl today. I want Sophia, the black goddess writer who really wrote The Matrix, to be given more than money. I want her to get those same access keys to all those studio doors the Wachowski wolves ran through with ease, with her story in their teeth and her womb in their pocket. A black woman's life is a cheat sheet for humanity. I want Octavia Butler. Y'all know her? I want Octavia Butler to get a residual check on this day for every sci-fi movie ever made in the new millennium. I want my female classmates shot in the streets of Chicago, Detroit, Brooklyn to be memorialized and talked about like the Columbine students. For every black woman raising children alone, any woman for that matter, stepmoms, earth moms, midwives, housewives, any woman who gave her 9 to 5 and the ones who never stop till they die or retire. I want the airlines to give them vouchers so every black woman could touch the ocean on this day, could see a part of the world, something they dreamt of, help create but can't afford to enjoy. For every tongue we had to bite, for every heartbreak, for the dozen times we've been called itches, hoes, ugly, stupid, wordless, for every jaw broke, every wrist cut, every pill swallowed, every collect call we said yes to, every bullet we swallowed in the name of love on this day. This country will reflect on the sacrifices of Africa's daughters who by force have birthed your sons. This is just the beginning of my demands. This poem is a petition for a national holiday to acknowledge African American women for the systematic use of our backs. Tell me, will you sign up? Thank you. Give me some more energy to the holiday so we can make the holiday happen. Woo, we can't start the Albany campaign here. I'm gonna say, is it Albany or Albany? Albany. Albany, Georgia. Y'all gonna be the last ones to get the damn holiday clapping like that, okay? So we're gonna have to get it together a little bit. Look, we need some fire and look, fire. The poet can give, we feed off energy, so you give it to us, we give it right back. I could go for hours, but you gotta give it to me. All right, so this is for my son King. My son is King, and he's 9 years old, and he's the best thing that happened to my life. And this is called, So What Are You Gonna Call Him? I was simply trying to have a baby. Now, when you're a baby, when you're a mother that reads books and knows stuff, suddenly this is a revolutionary act. I was just trying to have my baby at Northside Hospital in Atlanta. Just trying to have my natural childbirth. They had midwives, right? So I picked this hospital that would allow me to have my natural childbirth. And so I thought, until I got Nurse Ruth came into my room and was trying to talk me out of my natural childbirth while I was in labor. She's alive, but she almost died that night. So anyway, focus. Anyway, so what are you going to call him? For my firstborn son, King. It's also about his name. His name is King. And people still to this day will ask me, is that his name? And I said, well, yeah, that's his name. His name is King. But more people ask me, family and friends, after I told them what his name was going to be, they said, so what are you going to call him? And I never understood it. And I was like, I'm going to call him by his name. And so are you, if you want to be around him. So, if you're going to push him out, George Bush was the president. If you're going to push him out right here in the middle of the right-wing reign, despite the wars like wildfire and democracy never. If you're gonna open your legs in the middle of minefields while bombs hid inside of free bowls of rice, blow death winds crying out in the night, stealing our children with rhythmic breath and no drums for music since the integration experiment failed. If you're gonna cry freedom, wear black in October and paint your mailbox red to keep the cul-de-sac alert, then why wouldn't you name him King? When you have spent the last decade in an undeclared state of war against 9-to-5, slave labor, begging for vacation time and kissing, why wouldn't you, when 1 in 3 are headed to privatized prisons and living past 30 is unique, unharmed and without record is unheard of? You actually know his daddy. You have the nerve to be married to him. If you're going to raise him as something greater than what this country has promised, a survivor filled with the blood of royalty, a lion father and poet for mother. If you have the will to somehow still believe in black love, get married and read and dance the slow jams in the middle of the day. If 4-year-old Israel calls his name during a libation the day before New Year's Eve, what do you suggest we do? Ignore the ancestors? What will make you more comfortable? Young, white, female nurse at Northside Hospital, working inside an institution that delivers the most babies in the country, who told me, we never heard of anything like that before, while removing my stitches. Well, who is this we? The committee of snotty-nosed white girl nurses? Or the pharmaceutical companies who make a living off our addictions to their legal drugs, over-the-counter promises, their epidural doctors who get paid to play catch? My rosemary, echinacea, aloe, ancient natural healer remedies makes you nervous. You feel uneasy and unnecessary, Nurse Ruth. Why you want them sedated? Sleepy? What's wrong with a black man born awake? Proudly named. I know the nappy cornrow hair is misleading, but I am not an uninformed 17-year-old girl unsure of who my baby daddy is. And suddenly I realize exactly where I am. My blackness laid flat against paper white sheets, my personal anesthesiologist waiting in the wings. So yes, you will read the signs we tape to the door of what not to do to my son. And if I need something to kill the pain worse than your racism, you will address my husband. Stop talking to me and leave my room. This is said while gently applying pressure to her wrist. If you say you fight against imperialism and believe in economic freedom for the poor, if you're tired of black men being raised without fathers or by Americanized, culturally inept mothers who teach their sons to love money, hate their fathers, and only pray they make it to the NBA, NFL, or become a famous rapper one day. If you're going to attempt to birth a nation of loud, beautiful mofos who love themselves, love art, love music, their women, their culture, their mothers, their family, each other, and yes, even love his own name, King Thomas James Moore Poole, when people ask me what I was going to call you after I told them your name, I responded with this poem and this promise: it's what they won't ever call you that matters. Thank you. I don't know if I need this thing. It's acting strange. I'll move it. Y'all good? Yes. Okay, making sure. I'll read a couple more pieces. I want to read something different, though, so I can break it up with some differentness. I don't know, I just feel like being rowdy, so I'm going to do this. It's not that different, but I don't want to read it anyway. I talked a little bit earlier about my time in Ferguson, and so I wrote this for Eric Garner, who was murdered. Everyone saw him get murdered by police on freaking YouTube. So this is for Eric Garner and his family. And I wrote it after leaving Ferguson. It took me a couple of days to really break down after Ferguson. Like, I think I was just quiet. And then I just cried about it. And then I talked to Sonia, and she was mad because she was like, you don't go there without calling us, and you put our phone numbers on your bodies, and just giving me all these tactical things that we're supposed to do as activists. So, you know, still learning. So it's called I Can't Breathe. I'm in Detroit, and I can't breathe. The air is being sucked out of my city, the poor don't have water, and everything new means no niggas. I can't breathe because there is a smoking gun down my throat with promises of a post-racial America. See, that's why they don't invite me to the White House. I don't get invited to none of that. I can't wait to post Obama because I know he like my poems, but he got to pretend like he don't, but whatever. But I know Michelle like me. I know. I can't wait to be like, Michelle, I know. You wanted to invite me. But anyway, I got to write the poem about how I know they like me. I can't breathe because there is a smoking gun down my throat with promises of a post-racial America. I can't swallow the chamber. It is stuck in 1967, and it keeps reloading after it pierces the bodies of our unarmed babies. I can't breathe because I'm being rushed on a sidewalk in the middle of a peaceful protest by a militarized police force in Missouri. They are yelling, I got one, I got one. I am half running, distraught, searching for Talib's hand. Rosa is a few steps behind. The air is thick and ugly and dense, and I can't breathe because now I'm being forced to lie face down on the cement in Ferguson with the AR-15 pointed at my back. A long brown teenage boy is shaking in Rosa's lap. A young thick girl stands up anyway. I pull her back down and ask her to please wait. In Atlanta, a beautiful young activist tells me she is arrested at 6 p.m. and is driven around by officers till 2 a.m. before finally being booked with no explanation. We know who you are, they say, hoping to replace her breath with fear. And now she doesn't know how to tell her story of being kidnapped. She can't breathe. Who can push out fresh air in this country anymore? The rich, the corporation? We should all be choking to death from Fox News and processed foods, white supremacy, and what the hell is going on with Don Lemon? He needs to hit the weed. Only he could smell. Obviously, through that digital screen. My 19-year-old son calls me after hearing I'm in Ferguson to say, can you please go home? And he hasn't lived with me in years, so I'm trying to figure out the geographic location of that place, home, the place we feel the safest. And I'm wondering where all this rage has been. I'm confused because when you acknowledge race, you're called the racist. Mississippi, goddamn, Missouri feel hot as you. On Canfield, this young man smiles his gold at me, beautiful and bright and bravado. You from Detroit, you a poet. I saw you on the news. This is the place where Mike Brown's blood turned to roses. The stem legs of our boys long and racing and always swimming towards the sun. Easily tripped up, life interrupted. The ones who don't love you are armed. As much as we claim this is our land, the world minority is running our country. Our sweat, our women, our mothers, we birthed this nation, built it on free labor and death with no reparations, ray in sight. Insight. I need more insight on what this has to do with genocide. Everything. We are here without choice. Many of us fatherless, some of us warm-blooded, West African, Dakota, Cree, Cherokee. We are in a place with no place. We are a place with no place. We are natives, beautiful somewhere people, news flag poles and crosses and so many more little girls plus those 4 we will never forget. We are Moors. We are portrayed as whores, beggars. We the children of royalty. We red clay goddesses. We down south forests. We the trees with rings of stories. I can't breathe. I'm home from a terrifying place. An Octavia Butler, past future, past lives, scars resurface. I can't breathe because my son is 4 years from 12, and the park is his own planet where he plays freely and he knows a seed leads to flowers if you plant it. And he loves Bob Marley, Faith Ringgold, and Frida Kahlo. Walks with his head up and doesn't follow. Recites Baraka, sings the blues. He thinks wearing a belt is cool. He is simply a black boy with an imagination built on nations of poems and a mom that says, don't fuck with me. Cable is a winter luxury, so we don't get our info from the idiot box. Still, I've had to teach my son how to act when we pulled over by cops. He's seen them wave and like my poems. He's seen them black and flirt and asked to call me on the phone. He's seen them white in Dearborn Heights, accusing me of running a light I did not run. Mama, but the policeman is lying. Yeah, that's the reality too, son. When I can't breathe, I cry. in a parking lot, dropping you off at hockey camp, praying the white coaches and white kids won't try to suck the beauty out of your lungs. Pray you black ice skate fast past the chokeholds, the dangerous walks from the store to buy candy. I can't breathe, so I rush to get you from school daily. A collective mother's intuition always feel death moving around this winter in America clock. In these spaces where the air is thin, humanity is forgotten, and ancestral spirit is blowing hard, and fear has pushed you to a place you don't recognize. A forced language is pushed into your mouth, whipped across your back along the Ivory Coast on a ship called Jesus in the Congo, through the door of no return in an Alabama cotton field, in Chicago, in Cleveland, in Staten Island. When you look the world in its face after attempts to hijack your spirit, take your breath loosely for Lucy. I will inhale God, I will inhale God, and blow my last wind into your body. Your exhale be the Holy Ghost for this land. I can't breathe, 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 I can't breathe. Should I do like one more? Okay. How do I end? That is always the thing, right? Like, how do we end this thing? I don't know. I like talking about my son a lot. I'll read something. I'm gonna end with this piece. I should do the piece for Mary. I wrote a piece for Mary. Y'all know Mary Baraka, right? I'm gonna end with my piece for Mary. I was gonna read this piece when I write There Is Light, but it's really for just writers. It's like a piece. The writers should get it. The writers would get it, but this is, to be surrounded by these people, it'd be nice to just bring Mary Baraka into the space. So my friend Raz Baraka asked me to read a piece at Mary Baraka's funeral, which was just amazing to be asked of all the poets who loved Mary. But what's beautiful about Mary, what Mary did for me, it doesn't matter to me like how many journals, like that. I don't care, I really don't. I don't get grants a lot, and sometimes Sonia said, to not be invited is sometimes the compliment. And so I've gotten over, trying to get established whatevers to accept my work. And I think when they start accepting it, I'm going to think that I've gotten soft, and maybe I need to go back to, something else. But Mary meant the world to me, and what's amazing for me is that I actually meant something to him. And so that's even more remarkable, as a poet, just like reading Leroy Jones and reading The Dutchman and just, reading him, not being taught him. I couldn't even understand what I was reading in Detroit. I was just reading him, not knowing what the hell I was reading, and there was no context for it for me. I got a hold of the right library section and went to work and teaching myself about Black radicalism, about beat poets, and so I learned about Ginsberg, and I read all those people too, because of Amiri. But he brought me into the beats, and I didn't know who they were really or cared. And then I found a lot of other poets that I liked as well. And so this is called Damn Right, and it's dedicated to Amiri and to those poets that have been under him and learned from him, because we all from that same space, Whether you go get your PhD in it or you learn it from the streets, I think Amiri was an example of you can be a scholar and you can also be connected to the people. And so that's what I continue to strive to be and will continue to strive to be until I'm out of here. So this is called Damn Right. The death of my father at 69 reminds me that every new year is a kiss from God. Or maybe it is simply a reminder that catching bullets in our teeth are not just for comic book superheroes, that literary giants also battle against the monstrous heads of Connie and Bill and survive unscathed. Attention critics from nowhere, you might be forced to wear your spine to work today. Amiri Baraka is busy with a higher calling. Somebody gotta ask, who gonna be the messengers? Where is Sun Ra? Where are the Holy Ghosts, our prophets? Wise, do they call us hip hop or say we slam when when we are your students, Baraka, the invisible ones, the spooks that knock down doors. We don't juggle or hopscotch or jump through fire, we write. We know your bright sons have plans for this morning. We know your daughters are reimagining the night. Others began writing our suicide letter for us a long time ago. Ignoring the young cultural revolutionaries, you taught us how to breathe inside the polluted cesspool of segregated libraries in the name of Baraka. We dance, we teach, we tear down, we build up. We believe in the face of the faithless. We move for those who be still. We fly for those who be still. We have no choice. He created this fire. Who gonna keep it lit? Scholar with sword, master teacher with miracle as metaphor. Who gonna call the ignorant ignorant to their faces on national television? Who gonna make love inside of 8-bar blues? Here comes the heart. Here comes our city. Here comes the people. You don't have to explain your chakras. Just breathe. Here comes Baraka. Damn right, here comes injustice. Damn right, here comes protest. Here comes the hat tail. Here comes the b-boy stance. Here comes freedom. Here comes peace. Who gonna spark the tea? Who gonna plant a poem and grow a life? Who gonna bring the scholars out their ivory tower prisons? Who gonna call a spade a king and out-joke the joker? Who gonna build the low-coup bombs with the world and our bookshelves dying a little more every day? Who gonna teach the children? Who gonna rebel? Who gonna go into our prisons? Where are our redemption songs now? We conjuring the whole truth of language from the scraps of a twisted alphabet. The chitlin backwash taste of bitter standardized testing and watered down curriculums. We the economy of pyramids. We the who we bees and the what we dids. We what they thought was hid. Damn right these words don't fit. Damn right the record skip when your life is a calling. When the ancestors have prepared you for the politics, how do you pick the red pill or the whitest fence? When our cities are born with the bluest eyes, the darkest tails, and the most beautiful African people who don't know they is Africans. Who's cutting the grass to the killing fields? The dream dealers, the beat creators, the painters, the poets, the movement people, the truth tellers, the lovers, the liars. Oh, bless you, the liars. Whose blues they gon' steal now? Whose names they gonna mispronounce? Leave out, set back, pretend not to know. He created this fire. Who gonna keep it lit, huh? Who gonna print the books? Who gonna program the silences? Who gonna own the bookstores? Who gonna burn the house down? Who gonna tell them the revolution is your mirror? He created this fire. Who gonna keep it lit, huh? Baraka black, Baraka jazz, Baraka blues, Baraka dance till there were no shoes to drag. Where you from? Detroit, Newark, Harlem, Tuskegee, Berlin, Palestine. Who gonna fill the ark with art? Who gonna be the nude? Who gonna recognize the old? Who gonna identify your soul? Spirits don't lie, but the papers do. Who gonna control who remember you? Me, us, we, damn right, your stories are that of a lion. On the front line of an American schizophrenic jungle, prophet footing and warrior ink blood, they cannot kill us all with their black face and tragic, twisted imitations of life. We understand Amiri Baraka has outlived your circumstance. His books held political prisoner by unestablished, unsophisticated establishments. We hold his words as armor, as a symbol of our fearlessness. We ask his children, his wife Amina, for permission to claim him. We smile his boyish grin, waiting for the low-coup bomb to drop. He teaches us there is jazz playing every time the sun rises. A jackal of words, a blues man with his hat always in place. You, father of movement and possibility, Baraka black and artistic, handing out pamphlets full of rebellion and resistance. We know your life work is simply an answer to a question. Why God? Why ancestors? Why Malcolm? Why Langston? Why Jane? Why Lucille? Why High Key? Why Askia? Why Gil? Why Sonia? Why Last Poets? Why Asha? Why Tony? Why Saul? Why Thomas? Why Mike? Why Kevin? Why Akire? Why Ursula? Why Lamar? Why Willie? Why Carl? Why Major? Why Lisa? Why Sharon? Why ancestors? Why brilliant? Why organizer? Why father? Why uncle? Why scholars? Why essayists? Why teacher? Why legacy? Why black genius? Why Baraka? Why God? Why in the hell did you have to make me a poet? And God replied, Leroy, somebody had to show him how to do it. Thank you for having me. Really honored to be here. Thank you for listening. And thank you, Dr. Mack, for having me. Yeah, better buy some of these books and CDs. We got them in the back and the front. So just come there. Just work your table. Go come up here and then go back there. Yeah, buy the books. Okay, there we go.
One more time, great. All right, this is full day one. We have another day of awesomeness coming tomorrow morning. At 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, we have a tribute to the late Arthur Berry. We're doing some ekphrastic poems, watching some of the videos of some of his artwork and the poems that are set to that art. So that starts at 10. Please come and support that. And at 11, we have the incomparable David Mills. He'll be performing for us tomorrow morning at 11. And then at,
Work of Langston Hughes, you gotta say that.
say what?
Doing the work of.
Doing the work of Langston Hughes. He'll be dramatizing a lot of Langston Hughes's great works. And in addition to that, he'll be doing a workshop at 2 o'clock for ASU students. So if you're interested in participating in that, he'll be doing a dramatist workshop with that.
Blues poetry.
With poetry, right?
Blues poetry.
Blues poetry. That's at 2 o'clock. All right. So then we have the Mixed Media Poetry Project exhibit that'll be toured tomorrow. If you want to participate in that, we also have what else is going on tomorrow? As a litany of things. Oh, the Period Journal reading is tomorrow as well. So that's at I think that's at 12 tomorrow. So a lot of different things are going on tomorrow. So definitely come back. All right. Before you leave tonight, do not leave these tables full. Let's empty these tables if you don't mind, please, ma'am, please, sirs. I love you all. Thank you very much.
We love you more.
Oh, look at that.
Can we take a picture of this?
Sure.
Okay.